Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. And we are here for our 248th episode of the Talk That Talk Show. And we're literally about, 2 episodes away from 250? Seems like the time is flying by, but, each week that I come here for another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with you, I appreciate everybody's time that tunes in, whether you're on Instagram Live, whether you're on Facebook Live, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all streaming platforms. I thank you all for tuning into this podcast. When I looked at the numbers, we're not even about 1,000 away from 30,000 downloads. And in the last month, we've had over 550 downloads. I couldn't have done that without you all. So I just want to give a big time shout out to anybody that tunes into this podcast. I never want to not start off my podcast without appreciating those that tune in. Whether you tune in live, whether you tune in after the fact on your commute into work, whether you're, chilling with your friends and you tune this podcast on, I just appreciate you to the max, because at the end of the day, people don't realize just how difficult it is to podcast, or when you're not getting those direct returns that sometimes people are motivated by. When it comes down to it, my sole motivation in doing this podcast is just because I love expressing myself. I love sharing my deepest thoughts and things that go on in my mind. And I also love to share experiences that go on in my life that I feel as though, people can latch on to, or they can draw some motivation from as well too. And I feel as though a lot of times when people experience life, they're just so caught up in just trying to get through the day that sometimes those little wins aren't celebrated. And I feel as though for me, someone who's constantly grinding, someone who's constantly trying to think about how I can make the next move, go on to the next step, sleep at night can be a little bit difficult, because I feel like I'm constantly trying to think of the next thing and think about how I'm going to solve this problem or what I'm going to do when I wake up. But, I think that we have to not only live in the moment, but we just have to appreciate the process and appreciate the grind. One of the things that really challenged me over this last week was my mental and physical fatigue. I feel as though, with working multiple jobs and just trying to navigate an ever-changing work schedule, and then in the process trying to be a friend, a brother, a boyfriend, family member, it's a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it's something that everyone has to deal with on their own. And, it's constantly just a balance and a push or pull of taking one thing away to give to another. And the overall arching theme that I really think was the theme for me this week was just the word sacrifice. And, for me, I really had to step outside of myself when it came down to accepting this role as varsity flag football coach. Whether it be assistant coach, head coach, I am an assistant coach of the girls flag football team. And I feel like, through doing so, I've not only empowered these girls, but I've also empowered myself. However, through that process has come, a lot of, doubt in a way, some frustration, and self-reflection, man. I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize, when you're building a program from scratch, you literally have no blueprint. There is no book. This is literally a first-year program at North Plainfield High School, which is not even known for their athletics. So, me coming from Edison High, where sports was everything, you had guys and girls. I remember it was like Josh Williams, or the girl was like Rachel Ruck. But, they were 3-sport athletes. And I feel like, when we were growing up, you just went to the park and you played all day. And I feel like the landscape of sports in general in high school, just makes it a lot harder to coach, especially in my neck of the woods where I'm at in North Plainfield, because it's just such a blue collar town. You got kids that are missing practice because they have to work to put food on the table for their families at such a young age. You got kids that can't even get to practice, don't even have transportation or a way to get there. And it just is tough when you go up against these big time schools that have all the money in the world and all these indispensable resources. It's extremely hard to compete with and to compete against. However, I signed a commitment, and I signed up to make sacrifices. And one of the biggest sacrifices that I've kind of had to adjust with in being a flag football coach for North Plainfield High School has been giving up something that I truly do love. And I haven't had to give it up entirely, but for this 2-month period, my top priority has not been bowling. And it's definitely been not only challenging to go from practice where we're going 3 to 5, and I'm out there trying to motivate these girls physically and mentally, and then to go around and pretty much commute 30, 35, 40 minutes out of the way just to go bowl and give 110%. I truly feel like I've been burning both ends of the candle. And I have been bowling pretty well, but in situations where our team has been at full strength, unstoppable, we haven't been at full strength, and that's been because of me and my commitments outside of bowling. And I feel like when I talk to these girls and when I go and I coach them, I don't tell them, oh, I'm missing position week in bowling. I don't tell them I'm in first place in a position to win over $1,000 per man. They don't give a shit about that. All they care about is Coach Barry going to be there, and are we going to work on blitzing? It's been a tough sacrifice, and I feel like we haven't crossed that threshold of being able to get consistent wins and get a win at all, our first win in program history, because I feel like our girls have to understand what it means to sacrifice. And they're doing a great job excelling, exceeding boundaries, proving not only to themselves but proving to me that they are tough as nails. However, to get success, to garner success, to establish that, there has to be some sort of sacrifice. And for me, it's been sacrificing the time that would be committed to bowling, to watching film, to play creation, scouting, all these things to give these girls the top experience that I can and make them feel like true football players. That's the sacrifice that I've given, is my time, my energy, certain relationships. I love my boy Jeff to death, and I just haven't been able to hang out with him as much because I've just been tired. Committed to the team, to this flag football team, and then after that, trying to go back and be a bowler and give 110%. I think the reason why I'm not complaining about it is because these are all things that I've signed up for and things that I know that I can handle. However, to think that things aren't sacrificed to achieve whatever success that I've had, it has to go noticed, and I have to, say that, because I feel as though if I can get these girls to understand that, they have to push past saying that they can't do it. They have to push past, feeling like they're tired of playing in the rain. We have to push past, whatever outside influences we have, whether it be friends, whether it be family members. I feel like we just have to remain committed, um, stay motivated, and have to give some sort of sacrifices in there. I think that this has definitely been my toughest challenge to date. Um, Most times I'm able to, pick things up quickly and really just find a way to not only motivate myself, but motivate the people around me and get the results that I'm looking for. However, in this instance, where we're starting out 0-2 and we had the last half where we didn't score a point, and now you're starting to see some girls question their commitment and some girls potentially looking to quit. It's just a really tough time, and it's tough to gain that type of consistency or to build and add to the playbook when we can't get consistent girls to practice every single day. And it's no knock to them, and I know girls have obligations. However, they're doing such an amazing job given all the circumstances. Those girls were down 18-0 going into halftime, and they came back, showed some grit, and came back to make it 18-14 before halftime. And granted, we did lose 14-24, but they showed that they got some heart. I saw my girl Jasmine get literally bowled over by the running back, and just fighting back tears, saying that she can go back and stay in the game. Coach Wright said something about not really caring about wins and losses, but how we become at the end of the season, whether we become better people. And I watched a girl who pretty much had attitude issues, and they deemed someone who had a nasty attitude. And when it came down to it, and we seen her pretty much guiding her team away from a negative situation and being a leader, that's the whole thing that we coach for, and the whole thing of why we put on that coaching whistle or whatever, to try and motivate people to be better. And I truly feel like this coaching opportunity is something that I've really needed, to be able to watch and aid that growth and see girls do things that they didn't think they could do. In practice today, we had a girl where she had an interception, and I saw her confidence level just go through the roof. Seeing her mom was at practice, just watching us practice. Seeing the support from girls that aren't normally supported. I'm just happy to be a part of that. And for them to say there's over 85 different varsity girls flag football programs in its initial year, it just speaks to what is to come for this program. And I just hope that when the girls look at me, and when they step on the field, and even when they step off the field, they just feel like they accomplished something, whether we won or lost. And that's why when it came down to fundraising, I thought no further than to use my brand to uplift the program. When you look at the teams that we're playing against, they have indispensable resources, and we have a very short coaching staff with just me and Coach Wright. And we don't really have much equipment outside of what was given to us for free. And I think that we're doing the best we can with what we got, man. And I feel like you can easily complain about it, let it deter you from achieving the goals that you want. But I think that in whole, it's just really added to the depth in not only myself, but just the resiliency of our people in general, man. And that's why when I look to my brand, and when we were talking about fundraising, I look no further than Talk That Talk Show. And I hadn't released, when I look back at it, I hadn't released a hoodie since 2021. So it had been over a couple years since I had released my last hoodie. And I feel like, I went all into jersey making, which is dope. But I felt like I really needed something to put me over the hump, or get me really motivated to put my brand back out there, to make merchandise. And I feel like when there was a need with the flag football program, where they said, hey, we need some fundraising, I truly thought to my brand, and to say that in our first day of me getting these hoodies, we've been able to raise over $100 so far for the program. It just speaks to the belief that people have not only in me, but the brand Talk That Talk Show itself. So for those that don't know, I did make these maroon and white hoodies. We're calling these the Canuck hoodies because of the fact that North Plainfield High School's colors are maroon and white. And like I said, I'm charging $50 for these hoodies, and $30 from each hoodie will get donated to the flag football program at North Plainfield High School. And for me, that was my way of showing them that I care. I feel like a lot of times, especially in North Plainfield, these kids feel like teachers just clock in and clock out. And I wanted to give these girls the most authentic experience I can. And that's why, even losing my voice a little bit now, I'm happy to have lost it in a little way, because it just shows the passion. And I know that moving forward, our team will get a win. So, to anybody else out there tuned in, whether you're on Instagram Live or Facebook Live, if you are interested in a Canuck Talk That Talk Show hoodie, reach out to me. It's going to be $50. And again, $30 of that $50 will be donated to the North Plainfield Girls Flag Football Program. But again, through sacrificing, I think that a lot of times we have things of growth opportunities. And one of the people that I saw that had to make a big sacrifice was John Calapari. John Calipari had to literally swallow his pride because he was on the super hot seat, especially for how Kentucky has been, very stagnant over these last couple of years. And, Kentucky Blue Blood faithful, they are used to winning, and they're used to that success from Kentucky and getting those star caliber freshmen. And what we've seen from John Calipari over these past couple of years has just been a flaw in the system, a lack of success from that system that he built. That one and done era seems to be gone in college basketball, thanks to the addition of the transfer portal. And when you look at some of the top Final Four teams, those teams were the ones that had the most seniors, had the most graduate transfers. I tell you this, John Calipari was a smart man by leaving Kentucky, because I promise you, if he had not left, he would have been gone probably next year. I know the athletic director went on Twitter and said that they were going to sign him for another year. And then soon after, Calipari said he was going to Arkansas. But again, when you're on that hot seat, I feel like, John Calipari said he wanted to dictate his future, and he wanted to make sure that he would have a say in where he went, as opposed to being fired and let go or asked to leave. I think that those have such negative connotations to them, but it's a much better story, or much better on Calipari's legacy if he, just accepts another position as opposed to getting fired for not doing right by Kentucky. But Calipari's done really well, but I'm just excited to see what he will do. The move to Arkansas makes sense. He stays in the SEC, and at the same time, gets a chance to try and stick it back to Kentucky. Arkansas had one of the top recruiting classes for freshmen last year. They were a little inconsistent, but they did a great job, in spurts throughout the season. And I feel like the length and athleticism is kind of what drew Calipari to that Arkansas team. So I think that he has a good base to build with. It's not like he's starting Arkansas from scratch. But I think sometimes these coaches do need new starts. They need fresh starts to be able to give them what they need. And, we did see a conclusion of March Madness. Big shout out to Dan Koppel for winning the 10th annual Doris Howard Invitational. For the first time, and it seems like forever, I actually placed. I think I wound up taking 4th place with selecting UConn correctly. But I think that Dan, above everything that we saw from the tournament, the one quote that sticks out from March Madness is something that Dan Hurley said, and I'm going to repeat it to you. And it says, We've been running college basketball for the last 25 years. And when you think about it with Dan Hurley and UConn, it's hard not to agree with them that they have been running college basketball. And when you think outside of just the men's program, the women's program with Gino Auriemma has literally been second to none. Has been super dominant. Recently with Dawn Staley and this, University of South Carolina team, which has won 3 NCAA championships in the last, 5-6 years, that was the standard at UConn for women's basketball. So I agree when Dan Hurley says that they've been running college basketball, especially now with Dan Hurley going back-to-back in an era where, again, you have a lot of change and fluctuation with the transfer portal. You're seeing less one-and-dones with freshmen coming in and just completely dominating. So, for Dan Hurley to do what he did and go back-to-back in UConn, which is arguably the toughest conference with Big East basketball, it's extremely, extremely difficult. And you got to tip your caps to UConn, man. They are for real. I mean, how do you feel about potentially a team going three times in a row, a three-peat? I can't even remember the last time that's happened, but UConn has a great chance of doing so next year. But we're definitely going to see what happens. And then, I can't talk about the boys' side without talking about the girls' side. And I'll say this, South Carolina, they are dominant. We spoke a little bit before about them winning 3 times in a row. Well, not 3 times in a row, but winning 3 times in the last 5-6 years. South Carolina is a really tough team. Camila Cardoza, she is an absolute monster. I think she had 15 and 15 in that championship game. But I think that South Carolina's dominance also speaks to just how well coached they are. When you look at South Carolina and how organized and how much they talk about the system and being selfless, these are the types of things that I'm trying to get my girls to understand with their girls flag football. So when you look at building a program from scratch, Dawn Staley has done an excellent job in the women's. And again, we can't talk about the women's game without Caitlin Clark. She has done phenomenal things for the game and for the sport, women in general. She's brought star power. And I'll say this, with the WNBA draft coming up, whether you're a fan of Camila Cardoza, whether you like that girl Peely from Utah, whether you like Cameron Brink, there's a lot of great talent coming into the WNBA. And I'm just excited to see the WNBA coming into this next season. There's going to be a lot of shuffling. I did see some of the free agency moves from the veterans on the WNBA side of things. But I'm excited to see this fresh wave, to see, Caitlin Clark in an Indiana Fever jersey. That team was very tough to watch. But I think she'll do a great job in elevating the play. I think they have something like over 20 nationally televised games, which is unheard of for the Indiana Fever. So, call that the Caitlin Clark effect, but I'm here for it, man. The advancement of women's sports is here, and I'm not only happy to be a part of it, but I'm happy to be a witness of it too. And we have somebody here who has a question that I'm going to highlight here. And Travis says, what are your thoughts on all these bowlers with their tripods and TikTok live? And I'll say this. It's a great question, Travis. But I think it's the same thing that goes for, how could I say, the expression of people, man. We are in an era where social media has driven a lot of things. And I feel like even with this podcast, man, I wouldn't be half of what it is if it wasn't for the ability and the accessibility that social media does give us, And I think that for people that are using the tripods at bowling, and, we'll even extend it past into the gym, because I've seen a lot of people recording in the gym now. I just think it brings to light just how important people view social media and how we want to capture literally everything. And, I think not only does it represent capturing these moments, but, a lot of people do view using the tripods not only in the gym but in the bowling in an influential type of way. And in doing so, they're using their influence as opportunities, right? They see opportunities in recording and being able to contact people and being able to showcase what they're doing live for people, because in my opinion, Travis, those tripods represents what bowlers and what people that use them think of through opportunities. People think that if they see on live that they're seeing how dope this product does, maybe they'll get more people to check them out. Maybe they'll get more people to follow them. So, again, I think that it just speaks to what are our intentions when we come into the bowling alley? What are our intentions when we go into the gym? My intentions when I'm going into the gym is I'm trying to get some, workout in. I'm trying to go hard. Trying to self-improve and do things like that. For some people who want to go into the bowling alley, I want to kick your ass. I want to bowl well. I want to strike. I want to break records within myself. But, for people that are bringing the tripods, maybe some of them are using the game as a platform, or maybe they're using it as an opportunity. I talk about using my body all the time as advertisement. At the store that I work at, they've sponsored me through through bowling. Gotten our whole team jerseys. When people see that logo, when they see that message, they see that brand, it means something to them. So, I feel like, I've been able to extend myself and propel the brand without having to be on live and having to showcase and use the tripod on live on TikTok and things like that. So I think that it's just a different way of spreading certain things. And I feel like what you're seeing now, Trav, is just more people trying to take advantage of that opportunity that social media has given us. And then Travis has a follow-up question. Is it fair to others on the pair that are getting recorded, even if they don't want to be on live? It's a very fair question. Even when you're at work or certain things like that, people sign waivers. We had a situation at work. Indigo, shout out to Indigo. She's tuned in. But we had a situation at work where some people weren't comfortable being on camera or being filmed or being put on the social media aspect, whether it was because of outside influences, whether it was because of, self thoughts. People did not feel comfortable in certain social media posts. So to your point, Travis, some people on the pair may not feel comfortable being recorded. And I just also think that, it speaks up to the fact that people are just very afraid to have real conversations or have conversations of conflict. I had a situation where I had somebody that, was near and dear to me, and they sent me a super long, text message, pretty much saying that how crap I am, and it was very eye-opening for me. And, I went to them pretty much saying like, hey, how can we talk about this? How can we find some common ground here? And I pretty much got dubbed by someone who I was super, close with for a while. So, I feel like, at certain points, people just become, how could I say, standoffish and unapproachable in certain ways. And the conversation could have been had to maybe salvage something. However, with me extending an olive branch, when that same olive branch wasn't accepted, it's like, well, all right, I guess it's done there. So to the point that I'm trying to make to Travis, where he's saying that other people don't feel comfortable being recorded, just having a simple conversation, hey, I don't feel comfortable you recording on the lanes right now. I don't really want to be recorded. Is there a way you can not do that right now? I think that if you have a conversation with someone and say that to them, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to stop recording or maybe alter what they're recording, right? But again, if you don't say shit and then you talk shit, it just makes you look like a punk. You know what I'm saying? So I think that overall, talking not even just to, the recording and not feeling comfortable. I just think that when we have things of conflict, when you have situations where there's non-common ground, or there's not a situation where you feel that you're being expressed, we just have to have that conversation with people. And I think that when you talk to people in a presentable way, when you give them factual statements, then it makes it a lot easier to find common ground. And I feel like we are now in that era where it's so easy to just swipe right to get a girl, right? You don't have to go and talk to someone and go and extend yourself and be vulnerable in certain ways, right? We're in this era of just click, click, click. And I feel like it's so easier for people to just type and type the emotions and type the things that they're feeling, as opposed to just speaking face to face and telling someone how they feel. So, I think, Travis, if people truly feel uncomfortable with people recording, then they just have to say something, right? Speaking up, otherwise you have no reason to complain, right? And that would be my synopsis with that, man. So all I'm saying to people is, don't hide behind the cell phones. Have a conversation with people. Let them know that you're feeling comfortable, or if you're not feeling comfortable. Because we're all not Miss Cleo. We are not mind readers, all right? You have to go out and express how you feel to people. Otherwise, how are they supposed to know how you're feeling? So, don't be afraid to speak up. And that would be my thing. And Travis says, I better strike tomorrow. I have... last time I was at Lodi, I bowled like absolute dog shit. I couldn't do anything correct, but I didn't give up, and I think that is why I am super confident tomorrow. I told Travis when I saw this on the schedule, sign me up. We might not be in a playoff spot, but I think that, you have to still go out there and prove to yourself certain things. And I know I'm not a 480 bowler at Lodi. I know I can figure certain things out, and I feel like this is an important litmus test to me and to the Ducks that, we can still achieve certain things, and in certain ways you have to go out. And I just would rather go out on top, and especially after losing, being 0-2 in flag football, bowling over average on Wednesday, and getting a loss. I'm just ready to get on the winning side of things again, man. And I think, again, the hard thing about sacrificing is getting through and pushing through those tough times. Literally, it just feels like I haven't had that winning feel in a long time. And, I'm just ready, whether it's talking about Monday night where we've struggled a little bit with Tim, or whether it's Wednesday night where I haven't been able to be there because of, girls flag football, or Thursday because of the same reason. I just want to give 110% of myself, and whatever time I have in bowling, or whatever time I have with the girls in flag football, whatever time I have with you all on Talk That Talk Show, whatever time I have with the people that mean the most to me, I just want to give you guys 110% of myself, man. And that's why, coming here on this podcast is so important to me. That's why, being able to use my brand as a platform to provide a need for girls that don't have, I think that, that is what's important to me. And that's what gives me fulfillment. And, that feeling is what's pushing me past the frustration of, hey, we're 0-2. Hey, you haven't been able to do the things that you want to do. But sacrifice always leads to, a great thing. And, I just appreciate everybody that tunes into Facebook Live, whether you tune in on Instagram Live. Once again, I am selling these Talk That Talk Show hoodies. These are in the Canuck North Plainfield colors. They're going to be $50, and we are donating $30 from each hoodie to the Canucks flag football program. So once again, I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning into the Talk That Talk show. I love you all. You can catch me at Lodi Lanes tomorrow, trying to get a little bit of redemption in the next league. I love you all, and I will see you all next week.